people's wealth and income growth is tied to time and to permission, meaning that they're trading time for money to increase their income, and then permission, meaning to go to the next level, you're waiting for the next promotion.
The biggest mistake is that professionals sell their knowledge. Instead of positioning around the problems the market is ready to pay for.
Today, we are discussing the ultimate career pivot, moving from being a high-level operator to becoming a high-impact earner. And the most successful professionals are the ones turning corporate judgment into independent revenue engines.
If you never try, you never know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So build the belief first by doing two things. One, read certain books and hang out with people who've achieved what you want to achieve.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Black Business Podcast powered by CanadianSME. I am SK. This is a national platform dedicated to celebrating excellence, empowering legacy, and elevating Black entrepreneurship across Canada. Today, we are discussing the ultimate career pivot, moving from being a high-level operator to becoming a high-impact earner. In 2026, relying on a single employer is a greater risk than ever. And the most successful professionals are the ones turning their years of corporate judgment into independent revenue engines. Joining us today are Ekujumi and Deborah Adeboyejo, the co-founders of SkillHat. Mo is a tech leader who scaled SkillHat past $100,000 in monthly revenue while working full-time. Deborah is a product management expert who has helped over 20 startups launch and scale digital products globally. Together, they lead the Founder Studio, helping senior leaders package their expertise into premium consulting and cohort-based businesses. Let's dive right in. Mo and Deborah, welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Nice to have us here. Thank you.
Doing awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to host, our entrepreneurs from diverse background. Let's start with Mo. Mo, you have worked in massive enterprise environments like Marsh, Canada, and the city of Toronto, where life looks successful on paper, but many still feel trapped. Why do high-income professionals feel stuck, and how can they shift to ownership?
Yeah, great question. I definitely felt stuck. And I felt like there was more I was leaving on the table when I was working in my last corporate job. I was making about $100,000 a year. After taxes, I would have about $5,800 in my bank account. And with the cost of living, it seems like a lot of money, $100K a year, but really once you take out the mortgage, transport,
Taxes, everything, all the expenses, right?
Like what's left in your pocket, you're like, how can I make more? Right. And I was sick of the long commute. And I felt like I had a lot of creativity, a lot of things I wanted to do, but I wasn't really able to do that in that role based on, the company strategy was different from what I wanted to do. And a lot of professionals we're seeing feel the same. And the next thing is, the real thing here is that a lot of people's wealth and income growth is tied to time and to permission.
Right.
Time meaning that they're trading time for money. To increase their income, they have to work more hours, right? You see folks working 2-3 jobs just to make more money.
A lot of people, they do here.
Exactly. Yeah. And then permission, meaning to go to the next level, you're waiting for the next promotion. When is my boss going to retire so I can take his position? And there's like 4 guys waiting for the same position. So now and then there's all the commuting. So the point is, we want to grow, but we're like waiting and we're stuck. And we're putting more effort to get results. What people really want is leverage, being able to make more by doing less. Right? Being able to have a system that makes money for them when they're not there so that they can actually stop working, but money is still being made. And so this is what we help people do. And really, that's really building a business, going from the slow lane to the fast lane where money is being made for you through a system, through a business, through your skill sets. And I can talk more about that.
Right. And what is one practical advice to someone who is in your situation where you were earlier? What is one practical advice you would like to give?
Yeah, the first thing is to understand that actually to increase your income, you want to go into the fast lane, not the slow lane, which is where you're making money for the business system. And specifically, to be practical, you need to go from a task-based mindset to an outcome-based mindset, where you're not thinking, I do tasks, I do email marketing, or I write code, but I enable this business outcome. I help to increase revenue. Every business wants three things: increasing revenue, reducing cost, or streamlining operations to be more efficient, right? What is the outcome that you can enable with your skill sets or the skills you can learn? That's the first thing you have to understand, right? Who is the buyer who wants that outcome, right? And so you have to create a high value offer for a high value customer. 3 S's: a specific person, specific problem, and a specific way. Once you have a clear offer that you solve a problem with, then you have to figure out, how do I get clients for that offer? Right. A lot of people have never been taught this. When they think about making money, they think about, what job can I do? And that's the task mindset. But we're seeing now with the employment market shrinking and with AI taking jobs, now we need to move into the ownership and the business mindset to enable outcomes versus saying, hey, I'll show up, tell me what to do. No, you go and tell the guy, the founder, what they need to do and do it in their business to increase revenue. You take a chunk of that as your cut. That's really where the market's going today.
Right. And this is where your skills had helped, right? And what is the easiest way to get connected?
Yeah, so Founder Studio, this is what we do. We enable tech professionals, especially in finance, marketing, cybersecurity, to convert their skills into a business. And we see that a lot of tech professionals are really good at making wealth, building wealth for their employers. For themselves is a whole different story, right? So we enable them unlock the hidden value in themselves and build a client acquisition system that helps them get clients for their own offer and build their own business from there. A service business. Specifically, we help them build consulting businesses or coaching businesses or done-for-you agency businesses using AI.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights. Now let's explore how to turn years of experience into a market-ready offer. So my question to you, Deborah, what mistakes do professionals make when turning expertise into a business, and how can they validate the demand?
The reality is that there's so many mistakes that professionals make when they're trying to turn their businesses, or trying to turn their expertise rather into businesses. So there are many mistakes that professionals make when they're trying to turn their expertise into businesses. So, but off the top of my mind, the biggest mistake is that professionals sell what they know. They sell their knowledge instead of them positioning around the problems that the market is ready to pay for. And that simply looks like a real urgent problem with a real solution that you're coming up with, and being able to convert that solution into real cash. That's where it's at. That's where you're actually unlocking the value. Just thinking about it, I'll give you an example to further drive that home. So let's say we have a professional who's seated next to us, and I just ask, hey, it's interesting. Your portfolio is interesting. What do? You hear something like, just leveraging a Mo's example of email marketing. You hear something like, I offer email marketing service. That's not how the buyer thinks about the problem, right? The buyer thinks about it like, a buyer would think like, I have a long email marketing list, right? I have a long email list that's not converting, and I'm leaving money on the table. So as a founder, as a business person, you should be thinking about what you do, something like, I help e-commerce brands be able to add about $20,000 to $30,000 monthly by leveraging their existing email list to whether to drive revenue, to do whatever, and doing this without increasing ad spend. So that's how a business person should be thinking and communicating the problem. So that's where you unlock the value, really. That's the biggest problem in my own opinion. However, there's another problem that I see often that I like to talk about, which is the fact that professionals tend to build too fast. Right. And what that looks like is that they take their time building the program, building their websites, landing pages, all that good stuff. There's nothing bad in it. However, what you want to take your time to do first is that you want to validate that there is a market that's going to pay for whatever it is you're about to build.
And how can they validate, Deborah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you validate first and then you build after. But how do you validate? The first thing you want to do is you want to create a target market. You want to do all that good research. You can leverage AI to do that. Everybody uses ChatGPT these days, generative AI. There's a deep research button there where you can carry out deep research to be able to identify who your target market is. After you do that, you create an offer. You create an offer, and in that offer, you're communicating how to solve that problem that you've identified. Then after doing that, the next thing you need to do is you need to have conversations with the people that fit into that customer profile that you've identified.
Real conversation with real people.
That's it, exactly. And from those conversations, what you then do is you listen and you receive the feedback. That feedback is what you then use to refine your offer. And then you make the offer to them, you communicate it to them. And when you make that offer to them, when you begin to receive things like, okay, what's the price? Okay, what's the timeline for the delivery of this service that you have to offer? It's at that point that you know that yes, that's your signal. Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for my business. My business is ready to get off the ground. It's at that point you know that you're in business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sell first, build later is
Exactly.
how we like to
Let's
coin
call
it.
it. Yeah.
And as you rightly said, a lot of people, they try to build fast. And now because of the AI tools, it became more faster without validating their idea beforehand.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, they've built something that there is no market demand for.
Right.
And they are stuck running from pillar to post.
Right.
Right.
A lot of people, they think a lot of ideas, right? Ideas are there, but implementation is not there. And I was reading one, when I was on Instagram Reels, and they're like, I have a lot of ideas, and sometimes I thought of opening a police station. Starting a new country.
Ideas mean nothing. Execution is everything.
That's
Execution,
right.
yes,
That's
execution
right.
is, and that's where professions like you help other professionals.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Get the idea into execution phase.
I think I should talk a bit more about the genesis. This is a new audience for us, but the story of how we got here to Founder Studio is the first business that we started was actually SkillHat Tech Bootcamp. So when I was working as an IT project manager, the first thing to do in business, and what I advise everyone to, is monetize your knowledge. Whatever you can do, there's people who want to be able to do and learn what you can do today, whether it's a business or an individual. So I monetized my knowledge. I created a project management program to enable people who were in low income jobs making 60, 40K a year, transition to six-figure jobs. And so we were enabling people to become project managers, and that just took off like crazy. Right. When I was working my full-time job, we took it to 10, 20K a month, and I quit my full-time job, and we added other programs in our tech bootcamp like product management, user experience design, web development, cybersecurity, AI, and then scaled that business to 6 figures per month in revenue. And a lot of people come to me, like when we go to church or go to conferences, like, oh, Mo, how do you do this? Can I do this too? And so I started working with founders who had struggling businesses or other tech professionals who wanted to monetize their knowledge as well. And so that became the birth of Founder Studio, to enable people to build their businesses, leveraging their existing expertise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that extra thoughts. Now let's break down how to build steady income before leaving a full-time job. More can someone build a $10,000 business per month, without a large audience, and how they should manage the risk?
Yeah, good question. The answer is yes, of course, because we've done it. We've had multiple people do it in Founder Studio. 10K per month at 2.5K per client, that's 4 clients a month. Only that's 1 client a week, right? At a 5K deal, that's 2 clients a month. And a 10K deal, using 1 client a month. So yes, it is possible if you actually take the actions to do that. And so how is really the steps like I mentioned before. The first thing is the offer. What is the irresistible offer you're putting out into the market? And like I said, the great offer has 3 S's. Solve a specific problem for a specific person in a specific way. A lot of people just, they think of back home in Nigeria, how people do businesses, that they would just go to businesses and, what do you need? They would do a proposal for them. What do you need to do a proposal for every single client? As you're wasting so much time in business development, you need to figure out what's in the market, what's the common pain, and have one offer, one service for that, one channel. Second thing is lead gen. So typically it takes like 3 to 5 weeks to have a good offer once you validate in the market. But where people get stuck is lead generation. Being able to get that offer in front of your ideal clients consistently. And so that is the actual hardest thing in business, client acquisition through lead generation and sales. So we need to build and this is what we help with, right? We build a client acquisition system for businesses so you don't have to do it all by yourself. And so the second challenge is, how do you get your offer in front of the right buyers consistently? And so how you need to do that is really through content, right? Posting about what you're doing online. It's never been easier, really. It's just taking action, right? Having the right message, outbound messaging to the audience, hosting conversion events like workshops, webinars. And really that's it. There's no magic. They just do the work. It's just the hard work of doing it. And then the last thing is sales. Okay, now people are like, I'm interested, but can you convert the attention into a deal? Can you sell at a really high price? Can you overcome objections? So it really offers lead sales. And then last thing is fulfillment, being able to have a system that allows your offer. So we're saying offer, like, I'll give examples of offers, people who've actually done 10K per month while working a full-time job with us. An example is we use email marketing. One of our top founders, she does product marketing at one of the big tech companies. I won't say the name. Now she just helps smaller e-commerce companies with e-commerce enablement. Specifically, like, if you go and trying to buy something online and you try to check out and then you say, let me go talk to my wife, let me think about this, right? They lose money in that way. So she enables e-commerce companies have what's called checkout automation, where if you don't buy it right now, within 1 hour, you get an email saying, hey, you forgot to buy this, here's a 10% discount. Her company has that where she works, but there's tons of companies that don't have that, like don't have email automation, checkout automation. Examples of cybersecurity. A lot of people work in big tech companies doing cybersecurity, but there's all these smaller companies that are not secure, not compliant, right? So how do you convert what you do in your job into a consulting service for smaller businesses or coaching individuals? How do you get leads? And then how do you close? And how do you fulfill so it works when you're not there? That's the other part that we help, which is fulfillment at scale. That's the process to get to 10K a month. And then scaling to 100K a month, $1 million a month is really about better systems, hiring the best people to work with you so it really runs when you're not there.
Right. And also I believe more like, partnering with the right partner is also very, very important from the day you start.
Absolutely.
So that you don't make huge mistakes, right? Yeah. Now my next question is,
when you say that, what do you mean by that, partnering with the right partner?
Like, for example, you know how to start in the business and you are helping others. For example, if I'm starting a business, I should reach out to you.
Exactly.
The more I'm starting this, Deborah, this is the idea. Can you help me?
Exactly.
So this professional help is very, very important.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why do you think people don't? Do you think people are doing enough seeking for help? Do you think that they're getting enough help?
When people they start the business, I believe they are very, very excited. They're very, very enthusiastic, and they do a lot of mistakes which they would have avoided by partnering with the right professionals, taking the right advice from the right people. That's what I see.
What do you think blocks them from actually reaching out to the right people?
So, as an entrepreneur, for example, I run around 6 publications. So, when I come out with an idea, like I'm so confident and I'm so excited, I ignore some things, like some small things which becomes a bigger problem later on. Yeah. Imagine that if before starting a Black business magazine, if I come to you as Black entrepreneurs, I can get some ideas which I don't know. You can guide me, right? Absolutely. So that's how I believe I do a lot of interaction with a lot of entrepreneurs, and this is where taking professional advice and help is very, very important.
I agree.
That's right.
You got it.
To the senior leaders and corporate operators watching this, in 2026, your greatest asset isn't your job title, it's your judgment. If you are sitting in meetings feeling like you don't own your future, it's because you don't. You are building someone else's dream on a single point of failure. You don't have to quit today, but you do have to start building optionally. But you have to start building optionality. Package what you know, validate it with the market, and build a repeatable revenue engine. Don't wait for a layoff to realize you should have been an owner all along. Coming to Deborah, what does distribution mean today, and how can AI help acquire clients faster?
Oh, that's a good question, especially when you bring in AI, right? Okay, so what does distribution look like today? Back in the day, distribution used to look like a lot of stuff, right? It used to look like, you having huge brand partnerships, leveraging, huge what's it called now? Huge following or huge audiences.
Getting on the radio, getting
Exactly. It
magazines,
used to look
newspapers.
like linear TV and whatnot. It was very like linear at the time. But it's changed today. And distribution, for me, in a nutshell, looks like getting your product or your service consistently in front of the right set of people. And that looks like, different ways, the different ways to go about it. But there's no one particular way. I look at it as a mix of different ways. So it looks like a mix of, different platforms. Whether it's content you want to put on social media, LinkedIn, whether you want to leverage email marketing, whether you want to leverage building a community, whatever it is, just ensuring that you're putting your product and your service in front of the right people, your target market. That's how I look at distribution today. Now, when you also talk about distribution, I don't necessarily see distribution as the challenge, right? I see the challenge more so in the line of lack of clarity and lack of execution. Right. So a lot of business owners or founders are not clear on what their offering is to these people. So even when they're just putting out content, they're just posting, leveraging AI to schedule these posts, because that's what AI does. Right. AI brings in efficiency to the process. But before you can efficiently utilize AI tools or AI-powered platforms, you need to have clarity on the offering or on the offer. You need to have clarity on the people that you're trying to target. You need to have clarity on the solution that you're bringing to these people, that it's solving for their problems that they have. Then execution, right? You also need to know how to execute. Now, talking about clarity and execution, I always look at it in the context of what I like to call COW, right? When you talk about distribution, right? So C means content, right? O means outbound conversations. W means webinar. So you take the mix of these three, right? You leverage AI to generate your content, to refine your messaging, to be able to, reach out to this target audience. Then you need to have outbound conversations. No matter how much you post online, on different platforms, it is essential that you have these outbound conversations, right? And then webinar is that tool that takes all of the attention that you have gathered. Because one thing about distribution is you're trying to attract and get the attention of the proposed buyers, right? Or the proposed customers. So the webinar is that tool that will help you translate that attention that you've gotten, because now they're going to join the webinar. In that webinar, you're going to communicate the value that you have to offer, right? The solution to that problem that they have. And then you take all that attention and you convert it to conviction, because you convince them, and then you convert that conviction to actual cash, right? So that's how I see distribution and how AI comes in. AI comes in to reduce the effort that you would have taken to do that deep market research. It would speed the time that it would take for you to put everything together, to put your offering together, put your program together, I would just bring in efficiency to the entire process. But I always say that if there is no quality strategy, there's nothing AI is coming to do for you, right? It's just going to be a waste of time. So you need to ensure you have a quality strategy as a business owner. Then you can layer AI on top of it, leveraging different platforms, right? I don't want to go into all the platforms, but they're so lovable, will help you create your landing page. ChatGPT can help you with your deep research and whatnot. There's just a lot of them, right? That you can leverage, and that's how I look at it.
It's never been easier.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very interesting. I think one episode is not enough, I believe, to continue this conversation. We need to sit again. Finally, let's explore how to build, income streams that run beyond the founder. Mo, how does Founder Studio help, build scalable systems and independent income?
Yeah, so we focus on professionals in tech, finance, and marketing, and we help them earn income from a job to earning income through a business system that they own, right? So they can have freedom, flexibility, grow, their income to whatever you can imagine. You want to get to $1 million a month? If you can imagine it, you can get there. And so we provide the technology, infrastructure, consulting, and advisory, and we become their first partner in executing. So we provide the first thing we solve for with founders is what's the offer? What is the irresistible offer that is in demand in the market? And how we do that is we have tools that find the truth in the market. So we have AI tools that will find what is in demand in the market. So market research, deep market research that I used to take weeks before can be done in an hour, right? To look at who are the competitors in the market, what are they doing, what's their unique mechanism, what are their funnels, what's working in the market today, and how do you beat that competitor? So through market research, creating an irresistible offer, we have a series of data points that we use to create an offer, make it irresistible. What's the price, what's the guarantee, pricing terms, the attraction offer, the niche. A lot of different things make an offer truly irresistible. And once you have that irresistible offer, the next thing is lead gen. So our team partners with the founder to enable them with lead gen. She talked about the CAL method. So we have content frameworks. Like I go viral all the time on LinkedIn and Instagram. So they just use our frameworks. And I'll interview the founder, their story, and then use that to create the content for them using our frameworks. Then on a lead gen side still, we do outbound messaging with them. So we have tools, a tool stack that will take their offer and message everybody.
Customized tools you mean to say.
Yes. We have custom tools, and then we have tools that we use off the shelf.
Okay.
That will take their message and their offer and message hundreds or thousands of their ideal client persona on their behalf and create conversations, right? The next thing is, you talked about the W, which is the webinars. Really, webinars, really the broader thing here is a conversion event. So whether you're doing a webinar, a workshop, or a video sales letter, you need to take leads don't pay the bills, likes don't pay the bills, all right? You take the attention and convert that into a buying conversation. And we see webinars today, workshops, as one of the best ways to convert attention to cash, because short form.
And it's a long-term game, right? Like,
Exactly.
It's not a short-term. Yeah.
It's a long-term game.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, right? I'm glad you said that. I'll talk more about that once I finish the 4 steps, because that's a very important point, right? Back to what I was saying, conversion events convert all the interest into conviction and belief. And then the next thing is, okay, how do you now start running advertising? How do you scale that message? Once you figured out what's working, you close your first 2 deals organically, or 10, 20K a month with no spend on traffic. Now can you scale your spend to scale that traffic and get more people aware of what you're doing through ads? And there's other things that we do on the lead side. Now, once leads are coming in, what's next? Sales. How do you close deals? So we provide sales infrastructure as far as sales scripting, sales process, sales training. A lot of tech professionals, finance professionals, marketing folks have never been trained on sales. So we help them implement a sales process, train them on sales. And we actually do what's called call review. So, we listen to their sales calls and we say, hey, you suck. This is not good. You don't go into a client and you're like, are you going to buy or not? Like, it's not forcing, it's more discovery, understanding the problem. So we improve their sales process. We help them install the sales team as well. So once they start to scale, one of the best things in business is having a salesperson who's selling for you, no cost, all commission. And they're making money when you make money.
That's right.
And the 4th thing is fulfillment. How you have a process that your client's getting serviced when you're not there. So it's offers, leads, sales, fulfillment, and we build infrastructure, coaching, and support to enable that. Last thing is really community. When you're starting off as a business, it will shock you to know that only about 5% of founders across US and Canada are making 20K per month in profit. There's only a top 5% who are there. So if you walk down the street, you're not going to meet people who are founders or have ambition to be founders just like you. But when you come to Founder Studio, you work with other people who have the same goals, same challenges, and keep you motivated to keep going at it, even when things are tough. And like you said, it is a long-term game. Working with founders, they said, Mo, you told me 20K per month in 3 months. It's 3 months now. I only closed 1 deal for 5K. But I'm like, hey, dude, you closed 1 deal. You've opened up the floodgates, right? It's a long-term game. We're building a legacy here. We're building stuff to pass to our children, to our families, right? I go to Tim Hortons, they have 1 billion locations. How do they do that? Right? And so it's really a long-term game. I'm glad you said that, because that's the mindset that founders need to have. It's really, really tough building a business, right? You can just stay in your good job at Google. Maybe if you're lucky, there's people who take the other route. Maybe you're the 3rd employee at Uber, you're the 5th employee at a big tech company, you get a big payout. But for most people, that's not the case. They're working in a middle management job in a bank or an insurance company, and they're just grinding it out, but then they can't retire at 65 because they haven't saved enough.
That's right.
Whereas if you take the route of being a founder, it's really, really hard, I'll be honest, because you're building your own infrastructure, your own systems. You're going against resistance in the market. But once you do hit it out the park, you get the right offer, the right customer, and you can fulfill. Now it's just about just repeat that scale the team, and success is as big as you want it to be for yourself.
Right. Following on that, before we wrap up, what advice would you give to professionals more who are hesitant to start their own offer? Let's start with Mo.
I was thinking about this question, and I can understand why you'd be hesitant. But if you never try, you never know. Right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And if you make no decision, that is a decision. Right? So my advice is to decide to understand, first of all, that if you keep trading time for money, then you don't have leverage. If you start working for a month or 2 months and money's not coming in, then you have no leverage. And so you could choose to live like that if you want, but for me, I just couldn't live like that. I couldn't be in a position where I was scared, or if I lose my position, I have nothing to fall back on. So it's really important to build a system that makes money for you when you're not there. And so you want to have that belief first. And if you don't have that belief, I recommend you read a book called Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. Start by reading books, because your beliefs build your thoughts build your belief builds your actions, and your actions create the result. So if you don't have the belief, you can't take the action, you can't get the result. So build the belief first by doing 2 things. One, read certain books and hang out with people who've achieved what you want to achieve but are scared to take action on. So the books I recommend, Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco.
Okay.
It breaks down why entrepreneurship and being a founder is the way to wealth, which we all know it is, right?
Okay.
And the second book is $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. My first advice, if you're hesitant, read those books and then talk to Founder Studio. Go on LinkedIn or go to SkillHat.ca, book a call with me and my team, or message me directly on LinkedIn. Name should be below. And that's my advice to you if you're hesitant. Take action.
Yeah. Can you know your thoughts, Deborah?
Advice to anyone who is trying to pivot from being a career professional to becoming a business owner or a founder is when you finally make that pivot, or you finally decide to make that pivot, take your time to build the foundational pillars first. Don't be in a hurry to scale. Don't be like, hey, it's working, I'm going to scale right now. Take your time to build structure, build repeatable systems, and build community. The reason is because business is very risky. Business has a lot of uncertainties. You might follow the rules, you might follow the processes where there are processes, because sometimes, but you might do all the things that is expected of you as a business owner, and it doesn't work out. What do you then do at that point in time? That's where your existing structures will hold you. That's where your repeatable systems will guard you from completely going down the drain. That's where if you have a community and you have financial investments, I forgot to mention this part. It's important that you make non-emotional decisions on your finances before you start the business and while you're in the business. Ensure that while you're in the business, your overhead cost is not too high, such that your profit margin is too minute, because you need to have some money reserved. What of the days where the days when businesses don't go as planned? What do you do? Right? So that's pretty much my advice. If you're hesitant, trust me, whichever choice you make, whether it's career or business, is still a very tough road. So if you truly desire business, take your time to do all the work. If you feel like everything that we've said today is a lot, all you need to do is reach out to us at SkillHat. We'll break it down for you. We'll handhold you through each of these processes to help you get your first offer out, to follow you through as you're growing your business, and let you know when it's time to scale, how to scale, and we'll help you all through.
Thank you so much, Mo and Deborah, for sharing your insights and advice with our audience. It was a great pleasure hosting you today.
Thank you for
having us. It was such a good time. Thank you.
That was an insightful conversation with Mo and Deborah from SkillHat, a masterclass in how to turn your corporate judgment into a high-ticket businesses that gives you back control of your income and your time. Thank you for being the part of the Black Business Podcast powered by Canadian SME. Your support helps advance visibility, equity, and opportunity for Black entrepreneurs across Canada. Stay connected, stay inspired, and continue building legacy in motion.